we're good now. So let's head on over. Audio back up so I can see. Okay. Everything looks good. So hello everyone and welcome to the stream. I am Tommy and today we are playing more Radical Dreamers. That's interesting. Okay, it is all the way in there. Maybe I'm just hearing it more in the right ear than the left. Leaving the atrium behind us, we immediately found ourselves at a fork in the path. To the right was a passage to some stairs leading upward. A dark passage continued on directly ahead of where we stood. Yeah, let's continue along the path. I can't remember where we left off. We left the atrium and continued down the path ahead. Eventually we came across an ornate door on the right-hand side. Something smelled fresh and pleasant. Flowers? Was it coming from the inside? Sure, let's look inside. We found ourselves in a tidy, welcoming room. The knickknacks and curios dotted around the place seemed to be well loved. The stately desk and cozy-looking bed nearby, meanwhile, suggests that the room's occupant was no stranger to luxury. Though the room was richly furnished, somehow it still felt awfully lonely. Kid took a quick look around before commenting. It's Lynx's girls' room. A half-written letter on the desk and a teacup, still warm, suggested the lady of the manor was still nearby. It didn't seem that anyone was here now. We decided to search the room. Some charming flowers, a discarded cotton handkerchief. Okay, that was creepy for a second. Magiel. I'm guessing that one is... Oh my goodness. A discarded cotton handkerchief, a small bottle of perfume. Nothing that meant much to me, nor anything that seemed particularly valuable. Kid seemed to have the same impression, and scanned the room, clearly not expecting to find anything. The only item of note was a small antique box, which bore a crest resembling a viper. I decided where to look next. Oh no, what about the box? I picked up the small wooden box on the bookshelf. I gently opened the lid and was greeted by a soothing melody. A music box. There was something about that song. I know this tune. Kid was standing next to me and I could see something had changed in her expression. You do, huh, Kid? Someone used to sing it to me. A long time ago. Sorry, I was trying to place the sound. It may be... Shala's theme, I'm thinking? She turned her gaze downward and went silent. Kid? Startled, she turned to me. Her eyelashes glistened as if wet with dew. She walked to the door, not saying a word. "Hey, kid, wait up!" We left the room. Was she crying? Was Kid crying? Maybe I was seeing things. The passage outside the room continued to our left and right. The path to the right led deeper into the darkness of the manor. Meanwhile, going to the left would take us up to the atrium and another branch. Let's continue on in the darkness then. We went down the dark passageway, eventually finding ourselves at a sturdy-looking, immaculately polished door. Kid sniffed at the air. Just as I thought, something stinks here. I reckon we found the beast's lair, lads. In the darkness, Kid's lips twisted into a grin that turned my blood cold. Well, I mean, Lynx is supposedly not in, so we shouldn't have any problem going into his room. Kid opened the door and slipped inside. It was Lynx's room, but he didn't seem to be around. The bugger's gone and scarpered because he heard I was coming. Scarpered? Okay. There was something deeply unpleasant about the room. There wasn't anything unusual about the furniture and fittings, not how they looked or how they were made, but taken as a whole, it felt discordant. Was this a reflection of Lynx? A seemingly ordinary facade that hid a disturbing truth only some could see? Let's see what we can find. The desk drawers, the painting on the wall, the vase on top of the side table. We left no stone unturned. There didn't seem to be anything suspicious. But as I scanned the room, something unusual caught my eye. There was a pedestal in one corner with a significant-looking scarlet cloth drawn over it. I slowly raised my hand toward it. "Be careful what you touch in here," warned Maggio. I pulled my hand back timidly. But then the cloth flipped back with a flutter without me having laid a finger on it. "Did that thing just move by itself?" exclaimed Kid, her eyes wide with surprise. Gripped by curiosity, we moved in to see what had been hiding. It was a large antique mirror with an elaborately decorated style I'd seen before. It wasn't the kind of thing that would normally seem out of place in an old manor like this. And yet... "Wait, something ain't right," said Kid. Meanwhile, I was captivated by the gaze of the statue of Venus reflected in the mirror. Suddenly, the eyes of the statue shone with light. "What is your desire?" It spoke with a voice that was crystal clear, yet smoky and husky. "The mirror, it's speaking!" I stammered. "Ah, a whispering mirror," muttered Maggio, as if he'd seen them 1,000 times before. "What's one of those?" Kid gave Maggio a quizzical glance. "A magical mirror in which a spirit dwells. The spirit can freely move between its own and other mirrors, and will share its wisdom with those who ask. Perhaps we should ask it something." I decided to ask it about something that had already been on my mind for some time. Okay, I'd rather piss off Kid than Maggio, especially if Maggio is who we think he is. "I want to know about Kid's past." "Not if you want to leave this place alive, you bloody don't." "Hello, Macro, how are you?" "I'm doing well." Kid's face turned red with anger. Your wish is my command, responded the mirror, ignoring Kid, who grabbed me by the collar and was complaining vociferously. Oh my goodness, I have never seen that word in a long time. Holy crap. The image in the mirror rippled, and the reflection of the statue shook. And then the mirror's surface grew dark. The blackness gave way to a scene in Regiora. Shadowy figures appeared one by one. There was a young woman surrounded by several children. They were all dirty, their clothes ragged and worn, but they all laughed as they played together. And then the scene was drowned in flames, and a troop of armed men appeared. The men dragged the woman away, and the children vanished one by one into the inferno. The focus shifted to one of the children, a girl. She was standing with her back to the flames, her tears leaving tracks through the soot on her face as she howled at the night sky. The girl's eye narrowed like a cat's. "Stop it!" Kid screamed. The image in the mirror grew faint. Kid stared at the ground, her hands balled into tight fists. The room was dominated by silence. Word about her eye broke the silence. "Kid, I'm sorry. I'm leaving." She spun on her heel and made for the door. "Wait!" I cried and sheepishly darted after her. The corridor stretched out beyond the door. We retraced our steps. Eventually we came across an ornate door on the left-hand side. It was Riddle's room? Lynx's daughter? But Riddle is General Viper's daughter. Okay, so I'm actually going to stop there since there's no time limit on this choice. So... if it goes Trigger, Radical Dreamers, and then Chrono Cross, it does lean to the fact that maybe General Viper wasn't originally a character thought up, and Riddle, or rather Lynx, was sort of Viper? But then that would mean that instead of being a part of Poor, Lynx would be at Viper Manor outside of Termina. I mean, it does say that, Riddle is his adopted daughter, I believe. It said that last time that he adopted a young girl. So maybe in this timeline, Viper didn't survive, and Lynx took in Riddle? But that makes no sense, considering Lynx doesn't really have any connections to the rest of the world. It's something to ponder. Okay, let me get back into playing this, otherwise we're gonna be stuck here till the end of time. Let's go back inside. I checked out the music box. Yes, tiny welcoming room, knickknacks, curios. A window was slightly ajar, bringing in some much-needed fresh air. It seemed that someone had been here only moments ago. Let's come back later. We left Riddle's room for now. Okay. Well, there's nothing left in Lynx's room to look at, because everything else, pretty much, we couldn't find anything worth checking out. So let's head down to the atrium. We continued down the intersection until we reached an intersection. Down the corridor, gosh dang! We continued down the corridor until we reached an intersection. There was a left turn in the corridor leading to some stairs going upwards. The corridor also continued straight toward the entrance of a large plaza-like atrium. I mean, the only thing in the atrium is the Pteranodons and the statue. So let's head back upstairs. The passage to the stairway was short. With Kid leading the way, we started to climb the narrow staircase. At the top, we found another intersection. Taking the corridor to the right would lead us to a dead end with a large door, while the way to the left led to the terrace. A narrow side passage in front of us was open. We've been in the study. I think there were a couple of other options we could look at in the study. Let's try the corridor to the right. We continue onward, past where the stairs and the side passage emerged into the main corridor. We found ourselves in front of some ornate double doors. Let's check inside. Kid gently pushed the heavy doors open and peeked inside. Doesn't look like anyone's in there. Seems like to be the main hall of the manor. There was a massive table, beautiful decorations on the walls, and thick columns decorated with sculptures of birds and beasts. Fixed to the wall in the back towered over a tremendous pipe organ, like a burnished black mountain. Dozens of candles provided a dim, flickering light, sending the corners of the room dancing in and out of shadow. Several enormous portraits glowered down from high on the wall. Were these members of Lynx's family? I was busy staring at a painting depicting a young husband and wife, when I realized their eyes had turned to look right at me. Okay, they hadn't. Don't worry, this isn't about to turn into some dumb ghost story. Okay, that's actually funny. Ugh. Oh man, this game is heavy on dialogue. Go figure. It just looked that way because of the way the flickering light of the candles reflected against the glossy oil paints. Obviously. Probably. This place gives me the creeps. And get a load of those ugly mugs. There's nothing for us here. Let's look somewhere else. Neither Magil nor I had any objections. We left the hall and returned to the corridor. Okay. Let's go towards the study then. There were a couple of other options. We headed down the side passage. At the end of it, we came to an old, immaculately polished door. This was the study. Let's look inside. Serge, we don't have time for this. We're not gonna magically find something useful by trying the same bloody room over and over again. Let's go someplace else. There was a tinge of annoyance in Kid's voice, but she wasn't being unreasonable. Without some kind of lead, we'd waste all night trying to find something. We left the room and retraced our steps. Well, we've been everywhere. The only thing we haven't gotten is past the magic statue, I think. Fine. Downstairs. Let's see. Left continued to an atrium resembling sort of plaza, so to the left. You gotta be kidding me! Shouted Kid, glaring at me. Are you telling me to swim through the bloody lake of Pteranodons? Yeah, you can count me out, mate. How about am I supposed to charm me victims with big chunks bitten out of me? I guess she had a point. Here's a better plan. Why don't we go back to Beardy and try sticking something down his gob? That's what I was trying to do! Sure enough, she pulled out her bundle of odds and ends. Do I have to? I asked, knowing the answer. Which was probably just as well, since Kid only glared at me in response. My hand hovered for a moment before I finally reached for something. I chose... Let's see... Okay, what would I put inside of a mouth? Grapes? I took a small bag of dried grapes. One by one, I fed them to the sculpture's marbled maw. Munch, munch. It actually ate them! That's enough, Serge. Those are my emergency rations you're wasting. Kid snatched the bag from my hands. Still had the last grape, though, so I popped it into my mouth. It was absolutely delicious. They're not for you either, sunshine, growled Kid, glaring at me. You gotta take this seriously, Serge, or I should leave you alone with Beardy here. She was clearly annoyed, but I hadn't worn her patience completely just yet. I decided to try something else. I chose... I don't know. It bites you whenever you tell a lie. So... I don't know, a file? A centipede? I don't know. Let's try a file. I took the vial and placed it inside the mouth of the marble sculpture. Didn't seem to be the right item for the job. Crunch, crunch, crunch. I was stunned. The mouth of truth had started chewing on the file. It was eating it. Ah! Kid screamed with rage. My file! My lovely scratchy, scrapey file. I can't believe you just let that happen. You're in big trouble now, mate. She clenched her fist and trembled with fury. Sorry, I'll get you another one, I promise. I was just wanting to add, just don't hit me, but I thought better of it. I'll hold you to that, muttered Kid with a threatening grumble. If you're just gonna feed the statue all me stuff, we're done here. I promise that's not what I'm trying to do. You better bloody not be, mate. Once again, she showed me her collection. I chose... Okay, I still have the file, apparently. And I think this is the puzzle that'll get me to the next part of the game, but as always, I don't know what I'm doing. Hmm. Okay. So apparently I have missed a bunch of stuff. Okay. Okay, I think this is pretty much, not gonna do anything. That's what I thought. I thought we would have to get something for it, but I think it's just a, red herring. Let me take care of my nose, and we'll be back to it. Okay, so... we've been to Riddle's room, we've been to Lynx's room. The library. Okay, the study, we've been there. The clock tower. Okay, so we need to go back up to the study. I lingered for a moment, but pulled my hand away. It didn't seem like any of them was what we were looking for. Alright, let's just forget it for now, muttered Kid, stowing all her valuables. I wasn't sure we'd find a use for this stuff. Whatever, best get moving, eh? Defeated, we left the atrium behind us. So let's go back upstairs to the, study. Toward the stairs. Once we get to the top of the stairs... let's go left towards the terrace. After a short walk down the corridor, the terrace came into view. Let's see... kept following the corridor. A short way along the corridor running from the right-hand side of the terrace, we found an ancient-looking door again on our right. Kid pressed her ear against it, listening for any signs of life. Dead quiet. Don't reckon there's anybody in there. Open the door. In we go! Kid stilled her breath and reached for the handle. The door wasn't locked. It swung slowly open. What's this room supposed to be? Place is a dump. Kid poked her head in through the door, taking a quick peek to see if there was anyone inside. I was disappointed by what she found. In the room was a large and littered with peculiar-looking machinery and knickknacks, all of which were covered in dust. It had seemingly been dumped there haphazardly. Everything looked like it had been there rusting for a very long time. The ends of the room were completely dark, and it was impossible to tell how big it was, or even what the walls and floor looked like. Another hydrate. It seemed the manor's inhabitants had turned the old clock into a makeshift storage space a long time ago. I stepped warily inside. Leave that alone. I looked over toward Magill and saw a kid trying to pull something from the shadows. It was a huge sword that appeared to be very old indeed. You don't need that old bludgeon. It'll only get in the way. And as much of an antique as it is, it won't fetch much on the market in that condition. Yeah, I reckon it might, you know. There's plenty of collectors who just love old bits of junk. Well, some old bits of junk. Pouting, Kid left the sword where she stood. At least she put it back down gently. It was then that we heard a voice from the shadows. And what exactly are you doing here, I just about jumped out of my skin. Who's there? Kid and Magill turned to face the voice, ready for a fight. A wizened crone emerged from the shadows. She was hunched over and wore a hood draped over her face. I could tell at a glance that she wasn't just old, she was positively ancient. It's just some doddery old bag. What do you think you're doing sneaking up on us like that? Kid's shoulders relaxed as tension left her body. Magil, however, continued to give the woman a piercing stare. Oh, what an impish little thing you are. Here to visit a friend, perhaps. Not in the dead of night, I suspect. The crone narrowed her eyes. Let's get a closer look at you. Ah, yes, you must be here to get your revenge on Lynx. How did she... My heart jumped. She must seem to know exactly who we were. We were in trouble. What if she sounded the alarm? We'd have to give up on the treasure and run for our lives. What were we going to do? I'm curious. So what if we are? Kid narrowed her eyes right back at the crone. What is it to you if we're here to get our revenge on old Lynxy boy? You gonna do something about it? You never change, do you? The crone chuckled madly, her small frame shaking. Ah, the boldness of youth. Yes, that's the spirit. You what? Kid looked at the crone, completely confused. I was no less mystified. What the heck are you on about? Oh, it must have been 4 or 5 years ago. Yes, it was around then that an innocent-looking thief stole into the manor, looking to singe Lord Lynx's whiskers. She couldn't have been much older than 10, now that I think of it. Shocked, my gaze turned to Kid. A wet glint appeared in Kid's eyes, but her glare was like ice. It certainly felt as if the temperature in the room had suddenly dropped below freezing. With a chuckle, the crone continued her story, pretending not to have noticed the change in mood. She was an orphan, you know. Came after Lynx to avenge a woman who loved her like her own daughter. But all the vengefulness in the world couldn't change the fact that she was only a little girl. She was no match for Lynx's men, sadly, and they quickly captured her. Lynx was the kind of man who would fear to have for an ally, never mind a foe. Had it not been for the timely assistance of a friend of hers, the girl would have certainly been executed. The way the people of the manor told it, the very shadows pitied the girl and rushed in to spirit her away. Wonder how much of a tale could be true. I have nothing but sympathy for those who know failure, of course. You can't win all the time. And sometimes, against all the odds, fate really can be foiled, and the clockwork of history is sent into disarray. No, the ones I have no patience for are those who do not recognize their failure, who fail and choose to give up as a result. The crone looked up from under her hood, stared Kid directly in the face, and grinned. Kid's anger faded, giving way to a dumbfounded expression. If you wish to steal the jewel from Lynx, if you truly wish to triumph, you will have to let go of a treasure of your own, Kid. For as long as you cling onto it, hands of your clock will never move. They'll stay exactly where they came to rest all those years ago. Who are you? Oh, me? I'm just an old bag, like you said. I do apologize. I must have taken up a lot of your time with all my babbling. I'll leave you in peace. Oh, but before I go, the crone turned to face me. You seem to be injured, young man. If you wish, I can take a look at your wounds. With all the attention suddenly turned towards me, I panicked a little. Alright then. Alright then, please do. The crow muttered a few words as her bony finger drew sigils in the air. A pale, gentle light surrounded my body, filling me with a strange warmth. Strike a light, that's no ordinary spell. Kid was impressed. I felt my wounds healing. I heard a nostalgic melody that soothed the wound in my heart. Before I realized that the crone was gone. Hey lady! Kid strained her eyes, scanning the darkness. But there was no one to be seen, and her calls went unanswered. Who the bloody heck was that? Kid looked like she had just woken up on the floor of the laughing pig after a few too many. What did she mean by you having to let go of a treasure? Well, we won't find any answers here. Time to move on. Naljo brought us back down to Earth, motionless as always. It almost seemed as if he thought nothing had happened at all. Yeah, I guess you're right. Kid walked quickly to the door, keen on moving on. Hold it, you. Just as I was about to follow Kid out of the room, she jabbed me in the side with her elbow. You stingy little bugger, Surge. Why didn't you tell her to share some of that healing magic with the rest of us? Classic Kid. Okay. The door led back to the corridor, which stretched off to the left and right. Rightward lay the depths of a manor, which while the way to our left led toward the terrace. Ugh. Okay, this game is definitely going to be testing my my vocal cords. Let's head to the right since we've been to the left. Continuing on down the corridor, we came across a rather sturdy-looking door on the left. A little further on stood a stairway leading upward. Well, this door is clearly meant to keep something safe. If there ain't some kind of treasure behind it, me name ain't Kid. Sniff, sniff. Yep, that's the smell of cold, hard cash, all right. She muttered to herself as she began to inspect the door closely. Okay, let's go inside then. Bah, what am I? Stupid? Of course it's bloody locked. Kid had tried the door handle a few times before giving it a grumpy kick. Bloody door's got a magic barrier on it. And the bloody barrier's got a barrier of its own to boot. It'll take more than me putting the boot in to get through all that. I see that unless we find the key, we don't have any hope of getting inside. Reckon I can handle a key hunt, especially if it's that idiot Lynx who's hidden it. If we can find his room, and I'll sniff it out in 2 seconds flat. Just you wait. Watch. There was little more we could do here, so we decided to look elsewhere. Oh my goodness. This white on different colors is really not helping. Let's continue on. The corridor ended at the foot of some stairs. With Kid in the lead, we'd headed upwards. It was dark and the stairwell was narrow. We watched our footing carefully as we climbed. The stone of the steps was worn smooth with age. I lost count of how many there were as we spiraled onward and upward. An awful sense of foreboding haunted me. I had no idea why, but I felt as though we were being watched. We were marching to the gallows. When we arrived at the top of the stairs, we were greeted by an old, heavy door looming in the silence. All was deathly silent, and the steel, clammy air added to the sense of ominous apprehension. "Something's very wrong here," I muttered without thinking. "I hear cursed whispers from beyond the door," Magill added, doing nothing to lift the mood. "Ah, grow up, will ya?" Kid shot back at us derisively. She was already examining the door. "Well, it ain't locked, and I don't hear anyone inside." Okay. Alright, here goes. Kid tried the handle, the door opened, and with a slow, heavy swing revealing what lay beyond. It was a small cylindrical room that appeared to be inside of one of the stone towers. It was completely deserted and there were no windows. What's this supposed to be? Something about this place gives me the creeps. Still standing in the doorway, Kid seemed suddenly taken aback. "There might be something in here. Let's take a closer look." A closer look at a bloody empty room? Pah! Might as well, I guess. We did climb all them stairs. Kid stepped through the door, grumbling under her breath. I scanned the room, then noticed something on the floor. The flagstones were covered in dozens of narrow scratches, and in places there were thick black stains. Something of the stains spoke of horror that no amount of scrubbing would ever wash away. A malice and a sadness beyond imagining. There's something written here. Crouching in front of the wall, Magill was inspecting some brownish markings that looked like more of the same stains. Someone's carved letters into the wall and scrambled them using blood magic? Kid had gone over to take a look. Looks pretty old, hard to read too. Some of it's been worn away. Let's see. I cannot hold out much longer. My only hope now is to leave the Acacian signet in this room. The Acacian signet? Suddenly, a door slammed shut. We jumped to our feet with a start. From above us, we heard an unsettling creaking sound. The walls and floor began to rumble. What the hell's going on? Kid's eyes darted around the room as she desperately tried to figure out what was happening. The creaking sound from above continued, and the ceiling moved ominously closer. Up there! Okay! We walked into a bloody trap, Kid bit her lip. We gotta do something fast. Barge the door. Our Kid's playing toward the door like an arrow, slamming into its shoulder first. It was far too heavy and her light frame bounced right off of it. Damn it. Magill raced toward the door like the wind, smashing into it with a ferocious force. It made a creaking sound and shook from the impact, but stood firm. Desperately, I heard myself at it too. The shock of the impact rushed through my body, but it was no good. Meanwhile, the rusty creaking from above continued. As to the ceiling's inexorable journey downward. And to make matters worse, now countless blades were popping in and out. Surge, Magill, this is gonna take all three of us. Timing our blows, we all charged at the door at once. Once, twice, a third time! Then the door was open, and we collapsed in a heap on the corridor outside. What? Behind us, we heard the sound of the bladed ceiling grinding on the stone floor of the tower room. The metallic scraping noise it made was awful. We could only look on in silent horror at the fate we so narrowly evaded. Gosh dang. The machinery continued for a short while before slowly coming to a stop. It seemed like the ceiling trap had finally finished its grisly work. Bugger me, talk about a nasty surprise. Is this some sort of execution chamber? Magiel continued, seemingly to be deep in thought. In any case, the writing mission Acacia. Yeah, what was that all about? The Acacia Dragoons, an elite knightly order serving General Viper, who once governed the territory of Galesborough to the west. Former knightly order, I should say. They were wiped out more than a decade ago, by the lord of this manor, no less. Uh-huh, thanks for the history lesson, Mag. Kid rose to her face, patting off the dust. Too bad we're not here for the fairy tale nights. Come on, we've got a lot more exploring left to do. Magiel shrugged silently as we headed back for the stairs. Okay, phone's about to die, so let me get my cable and plug it back in. Okay. And let me get a sip. Okay, back down the stairs. And we're back in front of the treasure room, which we can't get into. So we're gonna continue on because I think we need to go back to Lynx's room. Continue on. Keep following down the corridor, then we're gonna go down the stairs. Okay, let's go down the stairs. Then we're going to take the passageway to the right. Riddle's room we're going to pass. Continue on our way. And we hit Lynx's room. Let's go inside. Kid opened the door and slipped inside. I knew he wouldn't be here. He started looking for any signs of the key to the vault. Maybe she could help, said Kid, thrusting her chin toward the mirror. I gently pulled the soft cloth from the mirror and stared into the glass. It was dark, like the surface of a lake at night. What is your desire? Ask for kids' measurements. Yeah, that's a way to get yourself clocked. Where the key to the vault was. Do you know where the key to the vault is? The mirror's reflection rippled and changed to reveal a room with numerous bookshelves. A deep, sonorous voice spoke. You'll find the key in the place I have revealed, the study. It is inside a book with a purple cover in the furthest bookshelf from the door. The image of the study vanished from the mirror, and the voice went silent. It appears the spirit has left for another mirror, commented Magil. To the study, then. As I made to leave the room, a low voice rumbled through the air, stopping me dead in my tracks. Beware. He knows. Was that the voice of the mirror again? What did it mean? Hurry up or we're leaving you behind, Serge, called Kid from outside. Flustered, I rushed after her. So since it said that he knows, the only he that we're looking at is, Lynx. So, now we gotta get to the study. Which means we need to go back upstairs. Continue on our way, past Riddle's room. Lead upward. And head towards the study. As we made our way through the silence of the corridor, something cold landed on me from above. I put my head up in my hair and felt a quease-inducing slimeness. Ugh, slugs! I lifted my head toward where it came from, and a mass of the disgusting creatures hit me full on in the face. Blah! As fast as I could brush them off, more of them landed on me and around me. It was literally raining slugs. Before I knew it, they'd begun to pile up wetly around my feet. They crawled all over me, and I flailed and flapped as I tried to shake them loose. Quickly, back the way we came! But as we turned, we saw the entire corridor was a writhing mass of the creatures. It's like the floor is made of them. A shiver of revulsion ran down my spine. I ain't trampling over that little carpet of gross. Kid shook her head violently, clear. Hello, Chibi! Thank you for the raid! And hello, raiders! For anyone who doesn't know, my name is Satomi, and we're playing Radical Dreamers, which is a completely text-based game with some RPG elements. So, oh, lovely. Well, hello, Eos. I can't run away. You know I followed the raid. Ugh. Give it a few seconds for the ad to finish out. No! It's almost over. 3, 2, 1. We should be back. Are we back now? Testing, testing, 1, 2. Are we back? Okay, I guess everyone's not going to tell me if they're back yet, but hello. And, right now we're in a hall of slugs that just randomly started raining down from the ceiling, so gotta see if I can make it to the study. Let's see. Kid shook her head violently, clearly far from amused. But the more we stood there wondering what to do, the more they kept piling up. Well, we're gonna have to charge through them. I threw caution to the wind and myself down the teeming corridor. Like that, is it? Well, I ain't staying here on me own. Kid was clearly at a loss as to what else to do, and she soon barreled after me. Slugs rained down around our ears as we ran, and oh, how we ran! We hammered along as if our lives depended on it. And as we went, the oozing juices of the slugs we trampled, sprayed, and splattered all over us. Our feet were soon soaked with the stuff. Whoa! My foot slipped and Kid smashed into me from behind. The two of us went flying and landed on the floor in a heap. Damn, you're a clumsy arse, Sarge. She grimaced at me, though, through a mask of slug ooze. I tried to stand, but they kept on falling. The slug storm had developed into a deluge. We were on the verge of giving up. It was almost more than enough for us to take. Either of us could take. They were up to our knees now. We were wading through them, desperately trying to make some headway. We didn't dare talk for fear of them falling into our mouths. And as if we didn't have enough problems already, a single solid mass of slug matter suddenly reared up ahead of us. Wait, it's people-shaped? And sure enough, a humanoid form had emerged, clutching what looked like an enormous scythe. A scythe was suddenly hurling towards me. Threw myself to one side. The monster's scythe whooshed through the air toward me. I kept my body low and dodged to avoid the attack. That was alright. It only grazed my clothes. But I still had to be on my guard. A demon! A bloody demon, spat Kid! So all that creepy stuff was an illusion? The slugs disappeared like smoke. But the demon was still there. It readied its scythe again, and began inching towards us. What was I gonna do? I made a dash to one side of it, lifting my dagger as I went. It tore through the creature's paper-thin skin. But it was only a flesh wound. Bloody thing's laughing at us. And it was too, cackling maniacally in a way that made me deeply uneasy. I raised my knife again and prepared myself for the worst. My eyes met the demon's. And it was then I saw it. There was a twinkle behind them. I couldn't tear my gaze away. Its chuckle grew into a belly laugh as it peered into the very depths of my soul. And then, just like that, it muttered a few words and melted into the shadows. Where seconds before it had been towering over us, now not a trace of it remained. What was that about? What was all that about? Oh, and it just disappeared mid-fight. Guess it had someplace else to be. Kid gave a strut, doing her best to at least feign indifference. But I couldn't shake the sense of unease that had filled me, and peered uneasily at the darkness to which the vile creature had disappeared. Okay, I'm guessing the demon latched onto us because we were staring at it. I was doing great. I felt like nothing could stop me. Not bad, Serge. Not bad at all. Didn't know you had it in ya. There was a mischievous glint in Kid's eye as she rewarded me with few rare words of praise. We headed down the side passage. Ah, okay. Finally we get to the study. Let's go inside and find the book. Right, let's find this key. Light on her feet as always, Kid moved into the center of the room. Where'd the mirror say it was again? Serge? She's asking me? How was I supposed to remember? Okay, it's purple and far. Yes. I think it was supposed to be the one with a purple cover in the furthest bookcase. Alright, let's see. Seeming to take my word for it, Kid made for the case in question. Right, this is the one. Purple cover. Aha, this has to be it. Kid pulled a book from the bottom shelf. Nigel and I watched as she opened it. The pages were hauled out, and inside was an old key decorated with strange symbols. Nailed it! Nice one, Serge! Kid snatched the key from inside the book. Right, time to finally get a look at this treasure. Having got what we came for, we left the study. Okay, so to the terrace and then pass it. So we're gonna head to the terrace. A scream pierced the darkness, turning my blood to ice. I realized then that a pair of crazy blood-red eyes was staring into the depths of my soul. It was a griffin! In a panic, I tried to slip the knife from my belt. Before I could draw my weapon, the griffin had spread its powerful wings and stooped toward me with an almighty screech. I was knocked back and sent rolling across the ground. I gasped with pain as the wind was knocked out of me. Serge, you okay? Every nerve in my body was screaming in pain. I held back the groans and staggered to my feet. I looked up to see the massive griffin in front of me. Its hellish red eyes stared down its beak. It was going to attack. Jump back. Almost by reflex, I jumped back. It suddenly beat its wings widely, sending a barrage of razor-sharp feathers flying right at me. The feathers pierced my body. I gritted my teeth and pulled them out as quickly as I could, then turned to face the griffin again. As the beast's mad red eyes glared at me. Hey, Misha! I desperately tightened my grip on my knife. Attack. I reversed my grip on my knife and plunged it into the griffin's neck with all my might. The griffin's body contorted with agony. Driven mad with rage, the griffin shook its head in this way and that. Philip pulled my knife out of its neck and rolled away to put some space between us. I quickly got back to my feet and readied myself to attack again. As the beast's mad red eyes glared at me, I desperately tightened my grip on my knife. Maybe again? Don't move, Serge, yelled Kid from behind me. Suddenly she landed on my shoulders and leapt up into the air. Crack. Her knees smashed into the side of the creature's skull, making the crunching sound I could feel in my bones. The griffin screeched in agony. The griffin stiffened, suddenly becoming completely rigid. Its eyes rolled to the back of its head, and it fell to the ground with an almighty crash. We'd done it! We'd actually managed to defeat a griffin. More like Kid managed to defeat a griffin. Poof! I fell to my knees, overwhelmed by what I'd just been through, but glad it was all over. Whew, I'd taken a few knocks, but I was alright. A scrape or two wouldn't stop me. Well, that was another fine bloody mess. What do we even bring you for, Serge? Kid's cold stare pierced me like a javelin made of ice. Wait, what'd I do? I actually took it out a little bit. Okay, so we followed the corridor. So we find... More like Kid managed to knee a griffin. Yeah. I mean, honestly, in all these fight scenarios, I don't hear anything from either Magil or Kid. I'm all fighting these on my own. Then they come in to do the final blows. I'm like, jeez. And then she's mad at me. Okay, so this is the way to the clock tower, so we're going to continue on. And the sturdy-looking door. And went inside. This should do it. Kid slipped the key we found into the lock. Lines of magical light flashed around across the surface of the door and vanished as various magical barriers were dispelled. Up, down, left, right, blue, red, green, every color under the sun. And then all was quiet, and the darkness of the manor returned. Right, we're in. With a creak, the heavy door gently swung open. As soon as I saw what was inside, I gave a gasp. Kid steps inside. Whoa, we hit the mother lode! Out of the darkness loomed a veritable mountain of gold, silver, priceless works of art, and exquisite trinkets. Kid looked as if she were on the verge of drooling at the sight of it all. But what thief wouldn't have been? After all, this was the kind of hoard that few people would ever come across in their lifetime. The smallest fraction of this vast mound of riches would have seen even the most careless spendthrifter set for life. Our goal is the frozen flame, ignore the rest. Magil spoke with an icy dedication to our mission. He had not even batted an eyelid at the sight that greeted us. Yeah, I know. She was disappointed, of course, but she soon set about scanning the room for the object of our hunt. Wait, is that it? Look, on the pedestal over there. I turned to see what Kid was pointing at. There it was, a small yet perfectly formed jewel that gave off a pale red light. A jewel that looked like a flickering fire suspended in time. The frozen flame. Silently, Magil walked towards the pedestal. I called out. Wait, we have to be careful. You're right, this is Lynx we're dealing with after all. We may very well be trapped. We should be on our guard. We need to be quick about this. But fine, have it your way, grumbled Kid, looking away. Magil examined the pedestal for a short while, then paused. We were wise to be cautious. Placing his left hand on the base of the pedestal, he muttered an incantation, drawing quick sigils in the air with his right hand. Some glyphs appeared on its smooth surface and for a moment blazed brightly. There, now it can proceed. Magil calmly reached out and grabbed hold of the red jewel. Dun da da da! Surge and friends attained the frozen flame. Whew, we managed to get what we come for without anything horrible happening to us. I breathed a sigh of relief and turned again to Magil. He stared silently at the jewel in his hands. Magil, we did it. Let's get out of... Before I could finish, the frozen flame crumbled to dust. This flame was fake. Lynx must be keeping the real one somewhere safe. What? Suddenly, a siren rang out. The room was flooded with light, and metal bars slammed down in front of the door. I turned with a gasp to see Kid frozen, an ornate crown in her hands, and wide-eyed look of awkward shock on her face. Kid! Really? You touch what you did not come for. Dun 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 dun. Kid and friends attained a golden crown, too. You're kidding me, right? You had to go and you complete bonehead. I let grip with a stream of choice insults. In my head, that is. Metallic parrots in the four corners of the room suddenly came to life, flapping their wings and screeching. Roar! Thieves! Thieves! We're in trouble. These things are going nowhere. As Magil inspected the bars covering the door, although to look at him you wouldn't have thought there was anything wrong. Which way? Which way? The parrots to the vault. We heard voices in the distance. The manor guards were coming. They had dived behind a pile of gold coins, find somewhere to hide. Independent looked around the room. There was a large chest sitting wide open next to a pillar. I rushed to empty it out and then plunged headfirst and closed the lid. Captain, there are no sign of anyone in there. No sign. Strange, peculiar. No one has ever escaped before. None have even fled the mousetrap's clutches. None. I gently pushed up the lid of the chest and peeked through the gap. There were 5 goblins wearing suits of armor unlocking the gate and about to make their way inside. One of the goblins looked around the room. Jerking its head, and he peered into the shadows. Captain, what if it actually was a mouse this time? Chef was grumbling about mouses the other day, Captain. A mouse? A rodent? A rat? Wouldn't a teeny little thing like that really have sprung the trap? Replied a stocky, plump-looking goblin, who must have been the captain. He didn't seem convinced. That was when I heard a strange, oddly familiar sound from the corner of the room. Squeak! Squeak! It was coming from where Kid was hiding. Startled, the group of goblins stopped looking at each other. For a moment, none of them spoke. Eventually, the goblin captain rubbed his chin through his jowls and offered his thoughts. Mouses? I'm sure Chef was complaining about cats. Meow? Meow. That voice again. Again, silence. The goblins looked at each other. Funny you would say that, Captain. When I heard it, it was mouses or cats. It was a hecarim. An awkward silence followed. In my mind's eye, I could see Kid racking your brain to work out what a hecarim was. I smell a rat, by which I mean a thief. Following the captain's lead, the guards reached for their weapons, and then... Heck. She is trying to make the sound that she thinks a hecarim would make. Listen, it really is a hecarim, by heck. That proves it. The goblin guards grinned and nodded at each other. Cheeky little devil surprised me there. Let's get out of here, boys. The goblins filed out of the vault. I breathed a sigh of relief. Then they came charging back in with a mighty roar. There's no such thing as heck friends! Why, you stinky little buggers! Roared Kid, leaping out from behind the pile of gold coins. You're one to talk, thief! Brandishing their weapons menacingly, the goblins moved slowly forward, forcing Kid into a corner. I quietly opened the lid of the coffer I slipped out. Can't leave you anywhere, can I muttered to myself. I knew Kid could handle herself, but I didn't fancy her odds against the whole troop of heavily armed goblins. For a moment, I wasn't sure what to do, but I made up my mind. I'm sorry, that last bit of dialogue just made me tear up. Okay, so despite what I want to do, we're going to save Kid. Right, I had to save Kid. There was no way I was going to abandon a friend in need. Even if it meant facing off against a group of 5 goblin guards, I'd find a way to come out on top. I'd hope. I drew the knife from my belt and leapt into the middle of the room. Hey, it's not for brainsies. Over here! Really? The goblins all turned to look at me at the same time. 10 beady, cruel little eyes all staring daggers at me. Fool, in a hurry to die, are we? I gulped and wondered if making a run for it might have been the better plan of action after all. Ah, humans are so stupid! The goblin captain chuckled and licked his teeth. Yep, this one's got a death wish, all right. Why else would he be so stupid as to come after Lord Lynx's treasure? Ha, that's a first. Being called dumb by a bloody goblin. Try acting tough when you're crying to your mum later on. Judging by Kid's response, she wasn't feeling massively threatened. And you tell her it was Kid who kicked your teeth in. So you're Kid, are ya? The sneaky little slippery little thief we've heard about so much. The goblin narrowed his eyes. Way to go, Kid! Yeah, Lord Lynx will be thanking me from now until my retirement when I bring him your head on a silver platter. The goblin captain pulled out his morning star from his waist and started swinging. You don't know who you're messing with. We ain't no ordinary goblins, sweetheart. We're Lord Lynx's elite guard, the goblins that gobble other goblins. That's right, the Gob Squad. Really? Gob Squad? Oh, quit shooting your math off and let me strike a boot in it. Stick a boot in it, and with that, Kid launched into a lightning-fast spinning kick. Her boot connected with the side of the goblin's head with a crack, sending the creature tumbling to the ground. Get him, lads. The boy looks scrawny. Start with him. The guard captain spun the heavy metal ball of his morning star in the air. Glorious gob strike. Aye, aye. The goblins charged across the room in response to their captain's command. Gob strike incoming. Let's... Ready for parry. Just about managed to push my enemy's attack aside and try to strike back with my own knife. Landing a heavy blow right to the goblin's unguarded flank. The goblin's face crumbled in agony. Nigel pumped up the black wind, which surged forth like a shearing tempest. How does a human know a spell like that? Who are you? The goblin was quickly silenced by the rushing winds tore through it. And it collapsed to the floor in a final shriek. Nigel looked down at his victim, his expression unchanged. Gosh dang! Another goblin flew down from overhead. Bombs away! With a growl that sent its morning star, jump up for a counter. I was better off attacking than trying to for a clumsy dodge. I tackled the goblin head-on. Literally, I smashed my skull into the goblin's grim visage as hard as I could. A shock ran through my neck and shoulders like I had been brained with a hammer. But it was worth it. Teeth and spittle flew left and right as the great ugly brute rolled stunned across the floor. A blazing pain seared through my mind and I fell off to my knees. Gob strike incoming! Parry. Kid lashed out with a lightning-fast kick. It was more where that came from. Please have mercy! The stricken goblin had collapsed on the floor, its eyes wide with fear. This ain't a game, Surge. Watch yourself, will ya? Another goblin flew from overhead. Bombs away! Why not? Long live Lord Lynx, glory to the Gobslaw, were the final words the goblin collapsed. That was the last of them. Hey, X survived! We made it! Ha, piece of cake, said Kid, putting a brave face on things as she wiped sweat from her brow with her arm. And then she stopped to looked at me. Surge, that was pretty dumb getting the goblins to come after you like that. You think you're some hero off to save the princess? Not with those twig arms. Still, you got guts. I'll give you that. Never a bad look. She gave a gentle giggle. And then Magiel stepped in. Save the chatter for later. We can't waste any more time here. The frozen flame must be somewhere else in the manor. All right, mate. Thanks for stating the obvious. It's not my bloody fault that Lynx has to make things so bloody difficult for everyone. The kid spun on her heel and made a sulky about face for the door. Suddenly, her attention returned to the pile of defeated goblins. This bunch of drongos said they were Lynx's elite guard, right? Bet they have some nice loot on them. With that, she started unceremoniously rummaging through the fallen captain's pockets. She was like a hyena sniffing for scraps. Ugh, gosh dang. Hello, hello, what's this? She found an odd metal plate. It resembled an open hand and was covered in runes. I reckon this might open some other magic doors somewhere. Well, never know what... It might come in handy either way, finders keepers. The plate vanished into Kid's pocket. Looks like there's nothing else worth taking, unless you count pocket lint and bits of string. She rose to her feet and looked around the room. You know, it's a real shame to leave the rest of this loot just sitting here unloved. I suppose we can come back for it whenever. Kid turned to face us and flashed us a grin. Alright, lads, let's get a move on. Ain't gonna be dark forever. That hand-shaped plate is our only clue for now, muttered Magiel, seemingly to himself. And with that, we left the vault in search of the real frozen flame. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna mute real quick and take care of my nose again. Okay. Okay, so now we actually go to the statue. So let's go. Let's go towards the terrace and then go downstairs. Continue on. Follow the corridor. Down the stairs. And we need to go to the atrium and go to the statue. Atrium. Yes, I know. Pteranodons. Okay, now we're back to Beardy. There we go. So now the getting out of here is gone, so we can give it the hand-shaped plate. I took the hand-shaped plate we found. After taking another look at the runes, I was no closer to working out what they might mean. Here goes nothing. I stuck the plate into the mouth of the Truth's marble maw. As soon as I did, the eyes rolled upward, and the wall gave a light judder. A low rumbling sound came from the sculpture's mouth. This, indeed, is the ultimate truth of the universe. Did you hear something? Yeah. I watched as the mouth of truth in confusion. Its great marble tongue lolled out, almost like a snake. It coiled around the plate, seizing it and pulling it deep inside. What's going on? In a panic, I looked to Magil for answers. Seems the ineffable truth of the universe has left even the mouth of truth tongue-tied. Magil answered in his usual deadpan manner. I think he might have been trying to make a joke. Hang on, so that plate thingy revealed the truth of the universe? And you went and crammed it down Beardy's gullet? Do you realize how much we could have sold that for? Kid kicked the floor in frustration and snapped her fingers. And then the drains on all sides of the room suddenly opened wide. The red water formed eddies as it sank away. Helpless, the pteranodons were washed away in the current. Soon only trickles of water were left, slowly dripping away. Well, that's a stroke of luck, ain't it? Guess we won't be sleeping with the fishies tonight, grinned Kid, looking at the empty pool. We crossed the drain room, making for the exit on the other side, and pressed on. Suddenly, the darkness felt opaque. Something like a thick haze floated in the air in front of us. And then it took form, like someone blowing smoke into a person-shaped bottle. It was robed in a ragged shroud, and its sunken eyes glinted menacingly. It was the burning hatred that lingered even after death given form. A being driven by hatred for all living things. A ghost. Bugger, that's us out. Kid bit her lip. There wasn't anything she or I could do to deal with an enemy that had no physical body. A voice boomed behind me. Magil had begun casting a spell. You know what? Get behind Magil. Magil cast me a glance, continued his incantation without missing a beat, then grabbed me by the cup of my neck and threw me at the ghost. Hey, I'm just trying to get out of the way so I don't get hit, dude. I ain't even trying that one. I emitted a strangled stream of horror that I'd probably never be able to repeat again. I tried bracing myself before I crashed face first into the wall. But the impact I expected never came. The core of the ghost, where its face seemed to be, had more substance than the rest of it. I didn't just slip through it like I thought I would. I oozed through it like I was stuck in some kind of goo. Ye gods, it was disgusting. More disgusting than anything I'd ever known. And it was impossibly cold. It felt like it was draining all the heat right out of my blood. Like it was draining my life force itself, in fact. I struggled to break free. I could find no purchase in the gooey ectoplasm. The coldness became more and more intense, and soon I didn't even know what cold meant anymore. This could be it for me, I thought. I was consumed by despair. Then there was a surge of heat throughout the muscles of my neck, at the place where Magiel had grabbed me just a moment before. At the same time, its incantation echoed in my mind. My vision was filled with a clear blue light. Serge! Oi, Serge, you still with us, mate? Someone slapping me around with the face. Someone who seemed to be enjoying it immensely. Kid, stop it, damn you! I looked my fate wide awake again in an instant. Madge, did you really have to use me like that? When dealing with foes who can attack the mind, it is simplest to lure them in with bait, then use their intended prey's consciousness as a conduit in order to make an assault from the astral plane. A direct magical attack would have meant a lengthy battle, and far from elegant solution, he replied, without a trace of guilt. Alright, let's keep moving. Kid gave the order to continue, seemingly completely oblivious to my brush with death. I was starting to feel a little worse for wear. I was going to be a little more careful from now on, or this was going to end up badly. Well, that was another fine bloody mess. What did we ever bring you for, Serge? Okay, so I guess every time I make a bad decision, it reflects. We went through the atrium and continued down the corridor, before finding ourselves at a fork in the road. The corridor stretched off to the left and right. Let's go to the left then. We continue down the corridor, eventually reaching an old, rather sturdy-looking door. Bloody Marvus, another bloody door with a bloody magic barrier on it. Wonder what's inside. The sixth sense tells me it ain't treasure. Kid whispered back to us as she examined the door. I suspect that this is the Manor's dungeon, replied Magiel, his eyes closed in concentration. I could hear the sound of someone moaning in the darkness on the other side. But there's nothing we can do, and thus it is of little concern to us now. Let us turn back. With no way of getting through the door, we retrace our steps down the corridor. After making our way down the dark corridor, we came to a branch in the path. Let's go straight. We continued down the dark, dank corridor until some stairs leading downward finally came into view. And down the stairs. Slowly we crept down the staircase, descending deeper into the shadows as we went. At the bottom we found ourselves at another intersection. A dim, narrow passageway branched left and right. Let's go left again. We continued on the corridor until it ended at a large door covered with scratches and other odd marks. Above the door was a wooden plate. It bore the legend, "Guard Room," in an elaborate calligraphy. Well, reckon this might be where to find the key to the door upstairs. No getting past that bloody magic barrier without it. Kid pressed an ear to the door and listened carefully. Doesn't sound like anyone's in there. Well, let's go inside then. Kid opened the door. The room had seemed completely silent from the outside, and so we thought it would be empty, but there inside was a lone goblin. It was sitting in a chair with a book in its hand. A light steam drifted from a teacup on the table in front of it, and with it a delicate aroma. The goblin peered at us cautiously over its spectacles. There was something different about this one. I could tell it as much at a glance. Heavens, how rare it is to have guests. Heavens! How well spoken for a goblin. I could only feel dread and suspicion at the sight of him, nonetheless. Sorry, mate, but we're not your guests. Cough up the key to the dungeon if you want to live. Kid slammed her knife into the table to illustrate her point. But the goblin didn't so much as flinch. Ah, you must be Kid. What a pleasure this is. I have always so wanted to meet you. Why, you're even more ravishing than the rumors would. Before the goblin could finish, Kid's knife flew through the air. With a quick flick of his wrist, the goblin caught the blade with the back of his book, a mere inch from his face. I see that your approach is as radical as the name of your merry band would suggest, the goblin said, pulling the knife free and handing it back to Kid. She took it without a word, but her gaze had changed. She was like a cat, cautiously studying its prey. And I was just getting to the good part, too. Oh well, I suppose I shall have to give up on ever finishing it now. The goblin casually flung the book over his shoulder into a nearby bin. Allow me to introduce myself, if I may. I am Grismeld, and I am the guard on watch. No need to stand, please, do take a seat. You're welcome to tea, of course. The goblin beckoned us to sit down. Did he mean to poison us? If I may. Magil calmly took a seat, ignoring the obvious suspicion in the air. Sit down next to Magil. I decided to trust Magil's instincts, and took a seat next to him. He had some kind of plan in mind, I was sure of it. Kid didn't look like she'd be pulling up a chair anytime soon. She was standing with her arms crossed, eyeing the goblin suspiciously. The goblin poured 3 cups of tea. Here you are. Without the slightest hint of hesitation, Magil took his teacup and lifted it to his lips. He sipped and then placed the cup back on its saucer. Hilmaelan tea? Not a blend I'd expect to find here. What a pleasure to encounter a fellow connoisseur. Yes, it's a rare blend, one mainly enjoyed by noble classes. I couldn't believe the conversation I was hearing, but I also couldn't help wondering what this rare tea might taste like. My eyes rested on the cup that had been poured for me. I couldn't shake the fear that it might be poisoned, but I also couldn't ignore how delicious it smelt. Before I knew it, the cup was in my hands. This is great, I blurted out. I'd never had such a delicious brew in my entire life. My aches and pains faded away. Hey, HP heals. I glanced over at Kid, who was blowing manically on the liquid in her cup. I'd forgotten she was paranoid about burning her mouth on things. Now that we're comfortable, let's get to brass tacks, as they say. I do indeed have a key to the dungeon, as you surmised. But you would also be aware that I cannot simply give it away. I glanced over at Kid again. Typical, she wasn't listening to what Grismeld was saying. She was still huffing and puffing at her tea. It seemed like it would be up to me to respond. I suppose that means you want something in return. You like to know what I want? I want your heads. Grimsild's eyes glistened behind his spectacles. Or rather, I'm sure that's what my employer would have me say, but no, I have no such barbarous aspirations. Furthermore, I doubt I'd be a match for you. Grimsmild chuckled as he said this. What I live for is the joy of conversations, which I fear my compatriots are ill-equipped to supply. Perhaps you might have one or two ripping yarns to share. Grinning, he added, I'm sure notorious thieves such as yourselves must have more than a few thrilling tales up your sleeves. So he wanted to hear a story. That seemed more than fair price to pay for the key. I closed my eyes and thought. Aha, I know just the story. How did it begin? One night, a young girl was walking alone in the forest. And then... she was out hunting for bugs. What was next again? She caught a beetle and painted it gold. The fragments I remembered seemed about right. I had a rough handle on how the ending would go. I took a breath and began my tale. One night, a young girl was walking alone in the forest. She was out hunting for bugs. She caught a beetle and painted it gold. The next morning, she set off to town to sell her catch. On her way there, she met some travelers and convinced them that the creature she carried was a fabled beetle of fortune. She sold it to them for an eye-watering price. Rich at last, the girl and her mother lived happily ever after. Hey, Serge, the girl's name wouldn't have to be Kid, would it? My blood froze as the quiet threat of in the voice behind me. What? I'm just making this up as I go along. Don't tell me you actually did all that stuff. The moment I turned around, I found my neck caught in Kid's hands. How did you find out? How? I couldn't answer her. I couldn't even breathe. I braced myself for a slap across the cheek. Before it came, Grimsmild called out to stop her. He whispered a few words in her ear and then handed her a small bag. Her eyes glinted like stars. She looked very pleased with herself indeed. Kid turned to me and Magel. Right, let's hurry up and kill Lynx so we have some of this. So we can have some of this here tea. So Grimsmild had won her round with his special blend. She must have really liked the stuff. Then again, it was just like her to have her head turned by next to nothing. Oh, and don't forget this, said Grimsmild, before she ran off without getting what we came for. The key, as promised. I took it from Grimsmild's hand, and with that we left the room, or should I say we were dragged out of the room by a very excited Kid. Oh my goodness. We left the room and took a left turn down the corridor. Okay, how the heck do I... X? Ha! Okay. Okay, so we are making some progress. Let me see, how many more parts? I think we have about 5 parts left, so maybe another stream or 2, and that should be it. But oh my goodness. I swear, I hope it's just one more because my voice is not going to be able to take this if it's all just dialogue. Ugh. So, now let's see if we can find someone to raid. And if anyone has any ideas, please let me know. Let's see, Eos is streaming, so I'm tempted to go see him. But Biku is playing Resident Evil 4, so that might be good. No, let's just go ahead and raid Eos. Now I'll get this going and do my little outro, and then we will be good to go. Alright, so thank you everyone so much for coming in. Tomorrow we will be continuing Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Still in the second world, I believe, Peacekeepers. And just going through all those levels. So again, thank you everyone so much for coming in, and tomorrow I will see you there. Bye-bye.